Hello, I'm Jessica and I'm here today to run a mindfulness, movement and breathwork session focused on self-love and self-care and self-comfort. We're going to be removing pretty slowly throughout this session, thinking about mindfulness in terms of being present here in the moment, with as little judgment and as much compassion as possible. And so just looking at ways that we can use these things, these movements and our breathing and mindfulness to sort of direct a lot of really good energy towards ourselves, like thinking about even the movements that we do in terms of what feels good and comfortable for you. So that might not be the same as what feels good and comfortable to me. So just really considering, if we're moving, what's happening with your back and your shoulders and your jaw and all these places, your hips where we might hold tension, and just being as gentle and as kind as we possibly can. And just thinking about starting to think about how we can direct some good energy towards ourselves. So I always think, often we think about self-care, maybe especially as women, in terms of beauty and exercise and sort of face masks and bubble baths and things like this. And there's nothing wrong with laying in a lovely hot bath for a while. But I would sort of encourage you to consider self-care as just acts that involve you feeling a sense of generosity or warmth or friendliness towards yourself, towards your body, towards your mind, towards your emotional self. So just acts of sort of positive, good feeling towards yourself. And that really can be anything. It can be very personal. It could be just staring out the window or watching a bit of Netflix. It doesn't actually have to be what we think it might be, as long as it isn't hurting us and it's kind of promoting a sense of I matter and I feel good when I do this. So we're going to start standing today, and I'm going to really encourage you when we do anything standing to think about how we stand. So we're not going to lock our knees, we're going to bend them slightly, but not so much that we can't sort of see our feet, you know. So even if we need to bend just slightly, but you want to be able to see your toes. You want to be upright. You're not going to stick your bum out. You're not going to tuck it in. So we're thinking about that sort of downward motion of the pelvis. You can even sort of stroke that bottom part of the spine. We're just going to start to get a position that feels like we can stand for a while and we can move easily. So we're not doing kind of yoga, you know, we're not doing this. We're finding a position, slightly more wide legs, knees bent, where we can encourage some comfort. Yeah, so just starting there with some comfort. None of this is exercise. Nothing that I'm doing today is going to be something that you get right or get wrong. It's not anything to show anyone or to prove or to be seen doing well or beautifully or anything like that. This is all about kind of directing some kindness and comfort towards yourself today. So starting with that kind of really comfortable position, we're going to take the attention down into the feet. And just kind of maybe noticing how your feet connect to the ground. You can move from your left foot over to right. And just kind of get a really gentle sway. It might be much smaller. It might be just like this. It might be bigger. Whatever you feel you need to kind of think, oh, how can I feel weight through that foot? You might need to really lean, get some real weight or a bit of a bounce going, as long as it's okay for the knees. But really seeing if you can notice what the weight through each foot feels like. So you know you're standing on your feet today. You might also lean forwards and backwards, and this isn't a balancing exercise, so the movement is quite small. We're kind of going from our heels to the balls of our feet. We might just start to kind of see if we can let the breath come a little bit more easily. You know, the hands and shoulders are nice and relaxed. And the movement that we're going to start to do starts with us placing our hands in a kind of a ball shape here, in a still nice, comfortable standing position, like we're holding a beach ball, or some people say it's nice if you like imagination or visual aids, like you're holding the moon in between the palms of your hands. Your hands aren't kind of rigid like this, but they're not floppy. They're somewhere in between the two. There is some activity in the hands, but they're not really tense. Okay, so you're holding something that's very light. It's not a heavy thing you're holding here. And you're holding it just below the navel, so it's not up here, it's not up here, it's not down here, it's just below your navel here, okay? And if you imagine that it is like a moon or like a bright light, we're going to start to shine it down one side. So we're going to travel down this leg, shining this light at the leg, as if we were shining lovely, lovely light at that leg down to the foot. And then your hands can kind of face palm down to the floor, bend the knees lots. And you're going to travel over to the other leg, put the hands facing together again, and we're going to travel up this leg and come back to this place in between. So we're going to do that a couple of times, but we're going to go down the other way. So go down the way you just came up, hands face the floor, knees nice and bent, really comfortable for your back and your legs. We're going to go back up to the middle and again back down the way we came. Hands facing the floor, gathering energy if you like to think of it that way, shining this light between our hands up the front of the leg, back to the belly. We're going to do it like that one more time, down the leg, across the floor. You can let the head hang here if you want to, just let it go. And shining up this other leg. Now we're going to add something in. This time when we come to the belly, we're going to go up across the body and we're going to reach the hands. Now we're not stretching our arms, our elbows are still bent, our shoulders are loose, but we might take that left foot off the ground as we reach. And we're going to come down the body, across and back to the belly, and then down that left leg, across the floor and up the other side, shining the light back to the belly, and again across the body the other way this time. You might look up to your hands and just gently coming back through the chest, the stomach, back to the bottom of the belly. We're going to go down this leg, across the floor. Let that head go if you want to. Legs really bent, really comfortable. Up, the left leg to the belly, so I'm mirroring you. Reaching out to the right. Down to the belly. Down the leg. Across the floor. We're going to go one more time each side. Shining this light between your hands, it crosses the body. Again, the movement is gentle. You might be here, you might be here, but we're not stretching too much. We might look up. We're going to come back down across the body. Shining the light down the leg. Relaxing the head and shoulders, the palms face the ground. And we travel up the body back, this time just waiting here at the belly. And just seeing what's happening with the breathing now. We might just start to kind of open and close our hands. We're not going to let them touch here in front of the belly. So just still being mindful that the tailbone is facing down. The shoulders relaxed, face is relaxed, jaw can let go. Just keep that balance in the centre part of the foot. I have a tendency to lean forward, yours might be different. You balance through the centre of your feet as we open and close the hands. You might start to let breath get a little bit noisy. You might like to just keep the hands bouncing just an inch or so. Really small movement there. Sometimes you can even feel something. As if there's something kind of almost magnetic, pulling and pushing between the hands. You can feel the air. You might not feel anything, it doesn't really matter. Just slow, gentle movements. And then letting the hands relax down both sides from you. Checking your comfortable position is still allowing for as much comfort as possible. We're going to place our hands now onto, you can imagine, water just below the belly button level. And again, the same thing with the hands. They are neither wide open and really, stretched out, and they're not floppy. There's some activity, but there's not too much tension. If you imagine how it would be to place your hands on the surface of water. And again, if you're visual, you might imagine that you're standing in a lake. Some peace, some beautiful place perhaps, surrounded by mountains and trees. A beautiful lake. And we're going to start to move our hands over to one side and over to the other side, just making really tiny ripples in that water. Really tiny ripples. Gathering some peace from this water, from this movement. Just seeing if we can allow our body a moment to move without too much effort. Often we're either really immobile or we're kind of doing a lot and working hard, rushing around, maybe exercising, but doing it to be fit, to go fast. This movement is really about just finding some connection to your body. It's really gentle, really kind. Hopefully some just interest in how your body moves. I'm going to make those movements get a little bit smaller now. A little bit smaller. A little bit smaller, just tracing tiny lines on the surface of the water as we start to come back to that ball of light. And then back, hands by the side. And again, just let that settle. See if you're still in a nice, comfortable standing position. And we're going to take your right hand. I'm going to place the back of the hand into the small of the back. Yeah? So wherever is comfortable, but really we want it to be here. If it needs to be a little bit out to the side, because that's okay, more okay for your shoulder, that's where it is, that's okay. But just imagine you're kind of plugging in. This creates a kind of like imagine an electrical circuit. You've just plugged in. And with the other hand, we're going to kind of raise palm up to the sky. When your hand comes down, you're going to flip it round so that the back of your hand faces the top of your head, faces the forehead, and then it flips. You start to draw the palm of the hand down the front of the body, gently offering something good and kind. And then we're going to switch. So this hand now goes to the plug in. Yeah, plugging in. And this hand is raising up. Everything's relaxed, everything's loose, nothing is forced. Flipping the back of the hand to the top of the head. You could imagine, if you like to, that you're catching lots of lovely, good energy, kindness and comfort into that palm of your hand. And then drawing it down to the forehead. And then flipping the hand. And starting to draw the hand down, you're not touching your skin, but you might be so close that you can feel the hand, the warmth from the palm. And you're offering that warmth into your chest, your stomach, your abdomen, pelvis, and background. By swapping again, plugging in that lower hand. We might breathe in as we raise that hand up. Flipping the hand, catching whatever it is you need in this little palm here. And then drawing the back of the hand to the forehead and then flipping it around. Whatever you caught there, shining that from your palm into your face, your head, your throat. Down into your chest, your stomach, your abdomen. Maybe just some gentleness and acceptance. Who you are, where you are today. This hand comes round, plugs in, back of the hand to the bottom of the back. Breathing in. And then bringing the back of the hand again to the top of the head. What would you like to have poured into that palm? Some comfort, some kindness, some gentleness. Bringing the palm, the back of the hand, to the forehead first. Then we flip. Shining the palm, the light, the warmth from the skin, maybe just that. To the face, the throat, the chest, the stomach. Down into the pelvic area. We're going to do one more each side. So plugging in the back of the hand, we're breathing in. Back of the hand to the top of the head. Back of the hand to the forehead, not touching, but very close. Flipping the hand. Just running that hand down the front of the body. Offering just some slowness, perhaps. No need to be anywhere or do anything or get anything right. Breathing in, gathering. Back of the hand, face down. Back of the hand to the forehead. Flipping the palm. Last time now. Maybe your hand travels to different places in the torso. It might be drawn somewhere. Allow it to be, but it doesn't have to be. There's no weight. Down it goes incredibly slowly to the pelvis, to the side. Both hands down by the side. We're going to do two with both hands. So we're going to reach the hands up. Flip the hands to the sky, to the forehead. Flip the hands palm face forward, not touching. Just offering some gentleness to movement. And again, breathing in. Hands flip, palms face the sky. Back of the hands to the forehead. And then turning the palms to the face. See if you can sense the hands there. You might close the eyes, you might not. Sometimes that affects our balance. Down the chest, the stomach, the ribs, the belly, all the way down to the pelvic region and the hips. And then just letting the hands go by the side of the body. And then we're going to move into sitting. And again, this is part of the mindful movement. We're not going to do this fast. We might put our hands on our knees and then one hand and the other hand. And coming into a seated position. And I really like to sit on something. It makes me more comfortable. You might have a blanket or towels or something that lifts you up. You might prefer to sit like this. Some people really like this position. You might sit with things under here so that you kind of got your knees higher, because sometimes letting your knees fall down can feel really uncomfortable after a little while for your hips. So just finding a way to sit on the ground that is okay. You can also stack a lot more up so that you're actually a lot higher, you know, and it's just really personal. There isn't a right way to sit. This is just the way I sit. And again, that's sort of part of not getting things right, not doing things in a way that someone else is doing it, or not able to do it oneself, and then feeling those criticisms creep in, that we're not sitting like the person on the screen, or we're not sitting, if we're in a class, like the person next to us. And I often experience all sorts of difficulties and pain in my body. I can't always sit like this, and it might be that you want to sit up in a chair, and that's also absolutely fine. I often do. I have a folding chair, not just outside a screenshot, where I often sit, depending on what's happening on any particular day in my body. Today, this is okay for me. Sit in a way that's okay for you. And again, we're just going to do really gentle movements. So if you just place one hand onto the chest and one hand onto the belly. And if you're familiar with yoga, you might be thinking kind of cat-cow movements, you know, kind of, we're going to bend and flex through the spine. And I'm going to encourage you to do it in a really small way. So you're literally just closing the space between the top hand and the bottom hand and opening the space. But you're not going to your max, you're not stretching out and coming, you know, full flex, you know, through the back. We're just doing small movements, letting the chest come up a little bit and letting the hands draw together. So we're going to maybe breathe in as we come up and out as we go down. So your speed is likely to be different to mine. Sometimes it can be useful in these sorts of moments to not look at the screen, but just, you know what you're doing now. Closing the space between the hands and opening it up. And I would encourage you now to do a smaller movement than whatever you've been doing. So whatever you started doing, make it smaller. And often making it smaller, if we're going to follow our breath, means going even more slowly. And we can start to move our hands around, which means we move in slightly different direction. So we might move one hand to one side and the other hand to the other side, and still bringing a little bit of closure between those two hands, and then a little bit of opening. We're just trying to encourage some really small, gentle movement. This isn't exercise. We're not trying to tone anything or get super flexible anywhere. We're just trying to offer some really gentle, easy movement to the body, some kind movements. Maybe really starting to notice that the hands are on the body now. We can try the other way around. See how that feels. You might have a preference. You might like it in the middle. Breathing in and breathing out. Remember to try and make the movements even smaller. So if you've got into something really big, see if you can go back to something really slow and really small. I'm trying to let the belly be loose here. And again, some of us can find that difficult. We're often holding our bellies in. We don't like them to be fully out. Sometimes we think that doesn't look nice. See if you can just for once let your belly be as it would like to be. Maybe giving it a little tiny stroke with that bottom hand with the thumb. It really hasn't done anything wrong. See if the breath can become noisy, like when you're falling asleep. Don't worry if it can't. Maybe it's just not ready yet. Coming back to just sitting in a comfortable position, whatever that is for you. And we're going to just do some really simple movements with our hand. We're going to place our hand in places where there's a nerve called the vagus, you may or may not have heard of. And the vagus is a part of the autonomic nervous system, or it travels down through the autonomic nervous system. And it goes from the sort of base of the head, and there are bits of it into the sides of the face and the ears. And it travels down and it goes to the heart and the stomach and the spleen and the whole digestive system. And when we activate the vagus, we bring ourselves to a place of calm and rest. So there is something really comforting often to sort of placing the hand on places where the vagus runs. So sort of placing the hand on the side of the face. Maybe the fingers are just by the temple there. Placing the hand on the belly. Just allowing the face to maybe tip very gently into that hand. No pressure on the shoulders. And just breathing in. And breathing out. We're going to move the hands around each time we take a couple of breaths in each position. You're going to place that top hand on the chest and the bottom hand on the other side, tipping the face. See how long and slow your breath can be. Not forced, just seeing how long it can be. We're going to place one hand on the back of the head, that bit that sort of goes in towards the back of the neck. And another hand is just going to go on the belly. And again, breathing in. Maybe your hand is moving into your belly a little bit. Your belly is moving into your hand a little bit as you move. So you fill up with oxygen and then let it go. Maybe you sigh out through the mouth. Whatever feels good. Coming back to that other cheek. Hand in the centre of the chest. Again, thinking back to that light that we carried in our hands and the water that we placed our hands on at the beginning. Maybe offering something to ourselves from our hands. This is kindness, this is love. There's that lovely Buddhist mantra, may you be well, may you be happy, may you be free from suffering. Sometimes one thumb might rub a little bit, and the contact here as we move around again is the kind of touch you might give to a very small child or a very small new animal, kitten, puppy, tiny. You might use your thumbs just to give a little stroke. And it can feel really strange to be in contact with ourselves in this way. Just see if you can let yourself have this moment. You're at home and no one can see you. Just maybe giving a little circular movement to the back of the skull there and that dipping point. Breathing deeply. May you be well. May you be happy. May you be free from suffering. You might say this silently if it feels like a nice thing to say. It might be something else. May you be free from self-criticism. May you be healthy. May you feel loved. May you feel acceptable as you are. And just moving the hands around those places, perhaps finding the one that you really like. I really like having my hand here on my cheek and just letting my head not fall completely, but just get a little bit of support there. It feels really kind, really comforting. And these sorts of gestures, even just for a minute or two, any time in the day, ways to offer a little bit of comfort and kindness. Just a moment. We rarely have contact with ourselves that is gentle. It's often rushed and brusque and not with any thought. We're just having a shower, you know, we're just brushing our hair, you know, we're often quite critical. We're looking in the mirror, we're thinking about the way we do things or who we are or how we look. Just taking our hands and having a moment of kind of gentle contact, a little squeeze perhaps down the legs, a little squeeze at the feet. These things can be really comforting, squeezing the ankles and up the calves. Coming back to the knees, just offering something that feels nice, squeeze, or maybe more gentle. Maybe today it just feels like a really gentle stroke. Something much lighter than a squeeze, gentle stroke to the feet. Always just following what feels lovely for you. And we're going to come now into a little laying part if you want to lay. So sometimes it doesn't feel right to lay down. We want to be more present. Maybe if there's any anxiety or kind of feeling a bit frozen or tense around, laying down can feel like not the right thing, because it might be a bit like, ooh, you know, if it feels like that, don't do it, sit up. If you do want to lay down, I would really encourage you to take just a moment or two to make sure you're comfortable. Lay on a blanket or a towel. Have another blanket or towel or throw, whatever you've got to go over you. If you're laying on your back, I would really encourage you to take a blanket or a towel or something from your sofa. If you're lucky enough, you might even have a bolster at home. And you're just rolling it up and you're putting it on the place where your knees are going to be, so behind your knees, not behind your thighs, but behind your knees. That just gives a little bit of relief to the lower back. And you can also give a lot of thought, I think, to the height of what you have your head on. Some people like laying with nothing. I'm different every day. So I think there's little muscles that run from the base of the skull down the neck towards the shoulder. And if you've got your head too high when you're laying, if it's sort of pushed forward, if it's too high, it will be tense. If it's falling back too far, it'll be tense. You can actually test it by just giving a little poke with your fingers, and you can see when you move your head to a point where it's taking too much weight, it'll tense up. So check it out. You might need a cushion under your head, or you might just need a thin blanket under your head, but make sure it's the right height and make sure you're covered up. So I always think when you lay down, nice things, you just lift your feet up and then plop them back down. I think then you can kind of tuck the blanket under your feet so you feel a little bit kind of swaddled. And see if you can tuck whatever blanket or towel or throw you've got sort of around you. And even trying to kind of, shift around a little bit and get as tucked in as you can. And being quite tucked in like this is another way. The nervous system really likes it. It all offers comfort. So physically being gently in contact, moving in really gentle, mindful ways. Letting go of some of the criticism or even just the judgments of this is boring or this is silly or I've got other busy things to do. Letting go of those judgments, they're all there, they're there for all of us all the time. And being in the coming back every time that happens to the mindful moment, which is just to be noticing everything that's happening now so that we can be in this present moment with as little judgment and as much compassion as possible. That's really all mindfulness is, and you can do it sitting down or laying down or moving around or walking or baking or washing your hands. You can really do mindfulness anywhere and in any way. It's just bringing the essence of noticing, non-judgment, compassion to the moment and being there with whatever is. And it might not be ideal, sometimes we experience mental or physical pain or distress, and these are incredibly stressful times we're all living through. So just having a moment of respite, a moment of comfort and kindness can be hugely important to all of us. Anything you can do at any time that gives yourself that is of value. So making yourself comfortable, sitting in a chair, sitting on the floor, laying down. And we're just going to do a little breathing technique, just for a minute or two. It's quite a useful one that interrupts if you're ever feeling a bit wobbly or a bit distressed at any time. This is a breathing technique, or even just practice regularly actually strengthens the vagus. So practice regularly. This breathing technique would actually exercise and strengthen your vagal tone, which would allow you to come back to a place of rest more quickly when you get stressed or angry or anxious. But we're just going to do it for a moment or two. If you like it, then it's something you might try doing whenever you feel like doing. So just bring yourself into this moment, in your seat, in your laying position. Notice the weight, the places where your body meets the floor. And this breathing technique, I'll describe it first. It really involves any kind of breath in through the nose. And the counting of the breath only happens when we breathe out. And then at the end of the out breath, we're going to hold our breath for a moment. So we're going to breathe in, it will look like this, through the nose, any way that you want. And then when you breathe out, you're going to go really slow. And it's going to be for the count of 6. And then you're going to hold for 4. So it's going to be in, hold, out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and hold, 2, 3, 4, and in, and out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and hold, 2, 3, 4, and in, and out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and hold, 2, 3, 4, and in, and out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and hold, 2, 3, 4. And if you'd like to carry on with that breath, please do. And if you prefer to just let go of that, please also do. We're going to move into a very little mini Yoga Nidra. I know Yoga Nidra is a way of directing our mind's focus to different places in the body, and we kind of dance around. So I like to imagine my mind like a kind of stage spotlight, and it just shines the spotlight on the place in the body that you're being led to, and it very quickly shines somewhere else. So we are noticing that part of the body. There may or may not be sensation there, and it might be good and it might not be. But we're not staying very long, so we're kind of removing perhaps the temptation to be judgmental or have concern about a pain or a lack of sensation. We're just kind of quite swiftly, in quite a flexible, fluid way, moving our focus around the body. And if you drift off, just coming back whenever you can to where I'm leading you to with my voice. So we're going to start our attention in our right hand, taking the focus into the palm of the right hand, into the thumb, the forefinger, the middle finger, the ring finger and the little finger, into the back of the hand, the right wrist, the right forearm, elbow, upper arm and shoulder. Bringing the attention over into the left hand, the left thumb, forefinger, middle finger, ring finger and little finger, the palm of the hand and the back of the hand, the left wrist and forearm, the elbow, upper arm and shoulder. Coming down into the right foot, the sole of the foot, the top of the foot, the big toe, the right first toe, second toe, third toe and little toe, the right ankle, the right calf and shin, the knee, the thigh and the hip. Down into the left foot, the left big toe, second toe, third toe, fourth toe and little toe, the top of the foot and the sole of the foot, the ankle, the left calf and shin, left knee and thigh and hip, and up into the top of the head, the forehead, the right temple, the left temple, the right eyebrow and the left eyebrow, the right eye and eyelid and the left eye and eyelid, the right cheek, the left cheek, the right nostril and left nostril, the right side of the jaw and the left side of the jaw, upper lip, lower lip, chin, the back of the head, the back of the neck, the right shoulder blade, the left shoulder blade, the length of the spine, the right collarbone, the left collarbone, right side of the chest, left side of the chest, upper abdomen, navel, lower abdomen, the whole right arm and hand, the whole left arm and hand, both left and right arms together, equal, balanced, the whole right leg and foot, the whole left leg and foot, both legs together, right side of the torso, left side of the torso, both together, equal, balanced, the right side of the face and head, the left side of the face and head, the whole face, the whole head, the front of the body, from the tip of the head down, face, neck, chest, belly, legs, to the toes, down the arms, the whole back of the body, back of the head, neck, shoulders, middle, lower back, buttocks, backs of the legs, heels of the feet, the whole right side of the body, the whole left side of the body, both together, equal, balanced, the whole body, laying or sitting here, breathing, the whole body, taking the light and shining focus of your mind to the whole body, offering some vitality, energy, kindness with that light, that focus of the mind, just to the whole body laying here. Breathing in, breathing out. And you might like to stay where you are, laying or sitting. If you'd like to come back into the space that you're in, into the day that you have ahead. If your eyes are closed, I would suggest opening them incredibly slowly, just looking through the lashes and seeing the light come in. And just gently blinking your eyes open. If you're laying down, you might roll onto one side and stay there for a moment or two in a place of comfort. If you're sitting, you might just move from left to right gently, perhaps even lifting a hip or a buttock really slowly, just bringing a bit of life back into the body. Coming out of stillness whenever you feel ready. Using hands to come up if you want to. If you're seated, lean forward to the floor or use your hands to the sides of the chair. If you're laying, you can push yourself up to seated. And just remembering any or all of these movements are available to you anytime, just offering moments of kindness and care, contact, of gentleness, responding to how you're feeling right now. There's always an opportunity for that in any given day, just a moment, even just touching your own knees or your feet or your face, just with a little bit of tenderness and generosity. I really hope that might have been useful for you, at least some parts of it, and maybe encourage you to think about what self-care means for you and how you can start to develop and grow that part that feels caring towards yourself, because that's all that self-care is really about. Is anything that we do, think, feel, any action we take that is motivated from a place of I feel some gentleness or care for myself. And it might just be for my foot, and that's okay. It's an okay place to start, just for my foot, just for a moment. Thank you so much for coming to this workshop, and have a lovely rest of your day, whatever it involves.